Good evening and welcome to a special broadcast, a special Saturday night broadcast of State of Mentel Radio. Am I coming in clear? I want to make sure I'm coming in clear. We changed phones, and I'm assuming I'm coming in clear. Those in the chat room, can you let me know if I'm coming in clearly? Let me know if I'm coming in clearly. We changed phones, and we're trying out a new system here. So give me your phone, check those in the chat room before we get started. All right. Let me know if I'm coming in loud and clear. I don't want to be broadcasting and no one's hearing me. So am I coming in clear to people in the chat room? Can people give me a thumbs up if I'm coming in clearly? Someone in the chat room say something. Somebody let me know if I'm coming in clearly. Because for some reason, I don't feel like I'm coming in. I don't feel like I'm being heard. Okay. All right. Let me see. I'm assuming that I'm coming in clear because people are still here listening. So, all right. Tonight we're talking about women and a woman reaching the level of becoming God or goddess. Right. I'm talking about this tonight because, the whole purpose of man reaching that point or becoming a supreme being is with woman in mind to do the same. How else do you breed a progeny of supreme beings? If your woman is not on that same level as you are mentally. Now, a lot of people are, in fact, questioning or going back and forth about that mindset of can a woman be God or can a woman not? Before I get into this again, I'm going to ask those in the chat room, let me know if I'm coming in clearly. Am I heard? Am I coming in clearly? Am I coming in clearly? Crystal, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Good. All right, I just wanted to know before I get started. I wanted to let you know, because some of the sisters are striving to get to that state where they're not in this terrestrial mindset anymore, this submental way of thinking. A lot of sisters are saying, yeah, it is possible for a woman to inhabit the seat of God or to become a God being or become the Most High. Because as we teach in the State of Mentel, that the seat of God or supreme being is just that, a seat. Right? Dr. York used to say the same thing. Give credit to Dr. York. And it's right and exact. It's a seat. It's a title. A man can inhabit it or a woman can inhabit it. Right? Now, the problem with women inhabiting that seat right now, right, that is not possible at this point. Why do I say that? Because today's woman, today's black woman, right, the majority of black women, the average black woman, are falling under the submental ways of thinking of man in the society. I don't care if it's the white man. I don't care if it's the black man. I don't care what system or structure is being set up. They're falling to earthbound terrestrial systems and philosophies and beliefs. It is only possible for a person to become supreme when they move beyond these things. It is foolish for a person to think that they will become supreme or that they're born supreme or that they're born to be supreme beings or advanced in their way of thinking by following the ways of everyone else. Right? The woman tends to fall under the mindset of being in a group, right? She looks more to the group than to what a group is saying and what it's standing for. There's a reason why you don't see women who found big organizations and movements, right, where it includes men and women. You had certain people they were calling women prophetesses at a certain point in time, but all of that was supposed to be on a level of women raising to become supreme beings. If you look at, the woman today, you notice the focus is always on destroying the women, because like I said, if you destroy the women, you destroy the children, and if you destroy the children, you destroy a whole new generation of supreme beings, advanced people coming onto the planet. So the focus is always on the woman. The focus is on always keeping the woman in a terrestrial state of mind and a materialistic state of mind. A woman will say, even if she tries to raise to that level of, what she calls supreme by way of so-called spirituality, she always travels that path alone, right? She always travels that path alone. She never finds a collective of people who are really focused on that evolution. She used the word spiritual, right, which denotes rituals, as I said before. It denotes special rituals. She never takes it into her mind that this is actually a mental evolution, that she's supposed to be going through a mental change and a physical change. A lot of women will say, you notice the women in the churches and the women in the spiritual thing, they never really change physically, but they claim that they change spiritually. What is that? What does that mean? What does it mean that you change spiritually, but physically you haven't changed? Right? That's a mystery. Right? You're supposed to change mentally and physically in order to move to that level of becoming supreme, pulling away from everyone else. What is God if not one who doesn't do what the masses do, what the many do, the ones who don't do what the average do? Black women are famous for saying that, I'm not your average chick. You hear that a lot in the society. Women say, I'm not your average chick. Yes, you are. The ones who say that, yes, you are. You're not doing anything outside the box or anything beyond what the average chick is doing out here. You hanging out with the average chicks. You saying the average things. Everything out of your mouth is average. So how do you raise to being a supreme being or a godlike being, right? How do you raise to that most high state if you are under the philosophies and the submental ways and thinking of man? You can't. The woman, like I said, the most popular thing right now with a lot of the women, if it's not religion, if it's not philosophy, if it's not spirituality, if it's not metaphysics, all these things the women are in, if they're not just caught up in the whole materialism thing, everything that they're caught up in is meant to keep you in a terrestrial state of mind. It is meant to keep you in a state of mental, a submental state of mind. Yes, women are supposed to raise to gods. The raising of a woman to a god or to the Most High would be much more powerful than men. Why do I say that? Because the women always have rearing rights, or first rearing rights over the children. So she can raise a nation of gods, a nation of supreme beings, a nation of deep or advanced thinkers, right? People who are moving beyond everyone else. In other cultures, they always try to, in a sense, deify the women. The Asian culture, right? This culture here somewhat. The white man deifies his woman, in a sense. He refers to everything in the society as she, it. Even America, he refers to as she, right? In the Bible, America is referred to as she. So that's placing the female or the woman on a high stature in the mind of man. And he expects a woman to act or hold herself to a godlike stature. Know what I mean when I say this? When a man, I'm going to take this to the sexual realm for a second. When a man sleeps around and has sex, right, it's expected of a man to do things like that. When a woman does it, it's frowned upon. Why? It's frowned upon because men expect women, society expects women to hold themselves to a higher standard than men. So in our minds, we think that women are supposed to be gods mentally anyway. That's why we look down on women who do that, who are sexually loose, versus women who are virtuous and, they judge and pick who they lay with, who they have children with. That's why we separate them. Notice a man could go and do the same things, right? He can sleep with a whole bunch of women, or he don't have to sleep with a whole bunch of women. He's never judged as being a whore or a harlot because that's all in the realm of terrestrial behavior for men. But a woman is supposed to always hold herself to a higher standard than men. Women think this unfair. You had with the women's movement when they came and they said that women should be equal to men. Women should be able to be as nasty and as sexually, out there as men are. But what were they really doing when they were spreading that message to the women? They were trying to bring down the mentality of the woman to the man. They were trying to take her out of that mindset of being gods. Because if you spread the whorish mentality to the women, then they won't evolve or advance as gods. They won't evolve or advance to gods. A man always really wants his woman to be a god, a goddess. That's what a man wants. But a woman, she'll take any kind of man. When a man tries to take a woman, 9 times out of 10, he wants the best. He wants her to have a god-like mentality. Right? A woman, she'll take any kind of man. And that brings down her mentality. That stops her from becoming a god, especially a future god. How can she hold that seat if she's not raising daughters with a certain mindset? If she's raising daughters with a terrestrial mindset, an earthbound mindset, a submental way of thinking, how does she do that? When we do our receptions and we do our classes and things like that, or certain sisters will start off listening to the program and whatnot, or, because I said that sisters will listen to the program, right, and then they'll listen for a while, and then they veer off and go into other things. They get caught up in other things out here in the world. That proves that women are geared toward the submental. They'll say things like, oh, well, that brother, he seemed to be saying a lot of the same things, or, it just seems kind of churchy or preachy or whatnot. No, that's not what it is. That's not why they do it. That's not why they stop listening, or, they lose attention. One of the reasons why they stop listening and paying attention is because they're of the world. The world they make it seem as though the world is offering them so much that the world gets their attention over this, over the focus on Amen, over the focus of supremacy and becoming a godlike woman, a god woman, a god. She's not interested in that because that takes a single focus, that takes a single concentration. And she doesn't want that. She wants to have her attention off in different things of the world. And it's all the same submental way of thinking. So how can the woman become God? She can't focus on becoming God. To become a God, to become a supreme being, to become someone who exceeds and goes beyond regular men and regular women, that takes focus. That takes a single focus. Not this over here, this over there, this over there, this over there, the club, the church, my girls, my friends, this dude here, this submental cat here, this doing here. No. That's not the focus. But then you want to turn around and talk about you spiritual. Even in that, that's connected to man. The submental philosophies and ways of thinking of man. The woman lacks focus on important things. She'll have focus on negative things, ignorant things. Today's woman, the average woman. You understand? She won't have focus on becoming that God-like being, that supreme being. Those women who can focus on that, they know that it's possible. Certain women don't think of themselves like that. Certain women don't think of themselves like that. The majority of women don't think of themselves as being on that pedestal, on that path to becoming a god. One who is pulling away from the masses of people who don't think on that level. Right? She doesn't think of herself that way. She lacks the focus to do that. It takes focus for me to do this. Right? The man has more focus than the woman on celestial things. How is it easier for the black man to have more of a focus on celestial things than the black woman? Easy. They make the world, or they cater the world toward the black woman. What do I mean by that? They offer her all the material trappings of the world, right? They offer her that, and they keep the black man out, right? So the black man doesn't really have that much focus on the material world because he's shut out of certain avenues and doors to let him into the material world, right? The 9-to-5 jobs and the big money, they'll let the woman in first. They do that purposely to keep her grounded. Notice the word grounded. To keep her grounded in the material state, in the terrestrial world. That's all done purposely. because the focus on keeping the woman from being God is paramount, right? That's paramount. Because if the woman becomes God, then she raises God children, and they don't want that, right? They'd rather have the children in a mindset of a submental state. They want to have the children in a submental state and a mindset. That's how you keep women from becoming gods. The women rear the children first. The women rear the children first, right? They have the most contact with the children, right? She can change a nation of children just from the cradle, right? Just from their early interactions with her. If she thinks of herself as a god, then she will raise God-like children. If she doesn't think much of herself, if she thinks of herself as a terrestrial, earthbound, submental person, then that's the type of children she's going to raise. Now, you look at the black children today in America, you look at the black children on the planet, do they not carry themselves like a bunch of earthbound, terrestrial, submental beings? Those who are regressing, that obviously had to come from a mother who thinks of herself that way. Because if more women thought of themselves as God, or thought that they were here for the purpose of becoming gods, becoming those women after the order of God, to eventually where a woman will someday sit in that seat in the future, then you would see that in the children. You would see the children being raised in that mindset. But you don't see that. You don't see that because the woman is focused on the world, right? It's not just the white man that offers the black woman the world. It's the black man who offers her the world, a submental world. Notice in all these religions and these philosophies and things like that, the culture and things like that, that's of the world. That's not dealing with a higher mental state that the woman needs to become a god, to become a supreme being. That's not dealing with that, right? Everything that man offers the woman in this society on this planet, right, it's based on what? Submental ways of thinking. Does the woman ever change? If the woman goes into these cultural things, religion, right? She goes into religion, right? She goes into whether she goes into religion, whether she goes into culture, whether she goes into Pan-Africanism, all these things, she ends up becoming submissive under these things, right? She goes into Islam and she becomes submissive to the ideas of a man named Muhammad, or submissive to the ideas of a man named Jesus, or submissive to the ideas of a man named Abraham. They all are put in a form of submission to a man's ideas, never in tune with God. Never in tune with God. Never in transmission with God. They never put in transmission. They never think in a way, a mindset of becoming in tune with God mentally. Even the spiritual talk is concept of man, conceptualized submental ways of thinking from man. What does the woman say? Or how does the woman connect to God to become God? Is she willing to dump out all the old things? Because it's harder for a woman to do it than a man. It's harder for a woman to let go of the material mindset. It's harder. You understand? It's harder for her to let go of the emotional things. It's harder for a woman to do that. It's harder for a woman to become focused on pure logic. Right? It's harder for a woman to do that. In order for you to become God, you have to become one who is purely logical. Right? As one who bears the seed of biological children naturally, you have to become pure logic. You have to become straight logic. You have no room for philosophy. You wouldn't have any room for beliefs. You wouldn't have any room for submissive thoughts. Is the woman ready to do that? No. Is the black woman ready to cut loose all of her emotions and think in a pure and logical state? Not many women are ready to do that. They're emotional. They can't see the logic in things that take place. So how do you become God when you can't do that? How do you put your emotions away and realize that these are nothing but terrestrial trappings in the material world? How do you put these things away in order to become God? See, this earth, as I said, is meant to be a God boot camp for man and woman. Not just man, but for man and woman. It's meant to be a God boot camp. And if you can make it through this thing, if you can make it through and block out all of the submental ways of thinking on this realm, then you will become God. You will eventually sit in that seat or sit by those who are in that seat. Sit with those people who are in the seat. That's what the elect was about. That was a race of gods on earth. The elect are a race of gods on earth. When they talk about that in the book of Revelation, that is a God race on earth, a chosen people. It's not just men, it's women as well, right? Those who have the ability to think logically and block out all the emotions, all the terrestrial trappings, all the material mindset. Those are the people who will be sitting in that seat of God. The people who don't focus on what's being said or done. I'm going to show you something funny. You notice with the white man, and use him for a second, he makes unemotional decisions about things. A lot of times he makes unemotional decisions, right? The ones who are in power make unemotional decisions. Their decisions are not based on emotion, right? They're trying to learn how to make decisions based on logic. Even though they are illogical people, they're studying logic. You shouldn't have to study logic. You should have it naturally ingrained in you, right? You should have it naturally ingrained in you. Our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers, they were ingraining logic and common sense in us as children, right? They were ingraining that in us, and we lost it by way of concepts, conceptualized ways of thinking from man. The first one who lost it was the woman. She lost it when she gave way to the matter of the planet, the material world. Why do you think that thing in the Bible where it says, Eve, the serpent beguiled Eve? Now, I'm not, I'm just using that as a metaphor for something, right? What does that really mean when it says the serpent beguiled Eve and he came to Eve first? That is a metaphor or a symbolic story of how those in power, those people who are in power, who rule governments and rule the world, they first, in order to come and take over another world or take over another society, they come to the woman first. That's what the whole serpent and Eve story was. It wasn't a literal serpent going to Eve. That's talking about those who are in power, because the serpent represents power, and those who wear the crown of the serpent are those who are in power. At that time, they went to the woman. That's why I said the serpent went to Eve, not to the man, right? And offered her material trappings, eat of the fruit. It's a symbolic story. Why? Because women want always to focus on or connect to the material world, that which is past and present. I'm going to show you something. Notice how a lot of sisters now are starting to flock to the Moorish thing, right? You're starting to see a lot of sisters flock to the Moorish thing. Why is that? You know why it is? Right? You know why a lot of women focus on the Moorish thing now? Because more women, according to what the Moorish teaching, is offering women, or it's offering the Moorish, according to their science, it's offering land, or the promise of land and rights and laws and things like that, even though that's not real, but it's offering people that. Women will flock to something that is going to offer them some sort of material gain. That's why they flock to the Moorish thing. And plus, there's a lot of men there. There's a lot of men there. And women today are told to go up under submission to men, not based on logical intelligence of the man or coming in transmission or becoming equally yoked with the man and working in unison with the man, but to go under submission to the man, right? Where she's not thinking for herself. They go there because there's a lot of brothers there, and because there's the promise of, like I said, material gain. You're going to get land from the government. You're going to get with these treaties and things like that. Right? That's why they go there. They don't flock to things that are based in logic. They don't flock to things, the average black woman, she doesn't flock to things that are based on thinking, advanced thinking and logic. Just the short term. Just the short term. Because her memories become short term. Her way of thinking has become short term. And in order to advance or evolve into a God, you have to have a long term memory. You have to advance, or you have to stretch your imagination. You have to stretch it. You have to open your imagination up to see the bigger picture. The black woman is not doing that today. She doesn't see past material things. She doesn't see past it. So how can she become God in the future if she can't see past material things of this day and time? When you try to explain something to a woman, right? And I'm not saying, it's not a shot at the women. I want you to understand, it's not a shot at the woman. Because a lot of this, so the males are becoming that way too. They have a mentality where they're not looking at the bigger picture of things. The men are becoming materialistic, like women, right? They're not focusing on the future. The future don't exist to them. So how can these men become gods? God focuses always on the future, not on the past or the present, but always on the future. His eye is always in the future, right? Because he always, as he's moving through time, right, he's already made his impression on that time. So why dwell in that time? That's why I tell our people, you focusing on history, you focusing on the things that happened. We already made our impression in history. Why do you keep going back? We already made our impression in Egypt. It's nice to talk about it and say we was there, but beyond that, why are we trying to relive that? Why are we trying to walk around trying to dress like the people back then? We already been through that time. Shouldn't we be focused on making our impression in the future? We made our impression in Africa, Egypt, Asia, wherever, all over the planet. We built all them cities. That's done. Right? The first person that should be pulling the man's coat today is the woman. She should tell him, man, look, babe, we got to move on. Right? She should be telling him, look, we got to move on. Not running up under the man in the form of submission, right? And lending to these submental ideas and concepts, religion, culture, and all these things. She should be helping to move the man forward. Not pushing trying to push a materialistic mindset on him, right? Not saying there's anything wrong with amassing things or having things. Not saying that. But that's the end-all, be-all with the woman nowadays, especially the black woman. If your focus is on becoming materialistic, right, then 9 times out of 10 you won't achieve it. If your focus is on becoming God by way of reception, then you will achieve everything. That's what that old saying says, where it talked about would you rather have the wealth of the world or the wisdom of God, or the wisdom of however it gets, have wealth over wisdom. And the wise person picked wisdom. Why? Because with wisdom, with intelligence, you can get all that wealth and then some. But don't make it your focus. If you focus on the material things, then it'll come and go, from rich to poor. But if you focus on the wisdom, you'll have the wealth, and then some, and then more, and everything that come along with it, and beyond that. God focuses on the wisdom and the wealth, the future thoughts, not on the material. Try to get the woman to do that. Try to get the woman not to focus on material possession. She's caught up in the world. She caught up in her perm. She caught up in her hair weave. Right? She's caught up in all these things. She's focused on how her nails getting done, her toes getting done. If you ever see the woman, she tries to make up more material nonsense. She's focused on going shopping and crowding her closet with a bunch of clothes that she don't need. Right? She's focused on all things that don't matter. Right? She doesn't focus on the evolution of her way of thinking in her mind. She don't think about that. When a man starts talking to her about that, she turns off immediately. She turns off. The average woman turns off immediately when the man tries to get her to think on a higher level, because the woman is earthbound. She's earthbound. When those sons of men came down here, right, into this atmosphere from another realm, from another world, and they made women here on the planet, they made earthbound women, right? They made earthbound women. And they went in unto these earthbound women because they had the genetic of the women from their world. And they used their own genetic. And they went in unto those women, and they conceived. And they made children of the planet. But those women still had the mentality of those on the material realm. Though they had the God genetic in them to move forward, they still focused on the material realm. That's how man, who was in a submental state, concentrates on keeping the woman there. He concentrates. How does man control a woman? By keeping her tied to material possessions, right? He keeps her tied to material possessions. And if he keeps her tied to material possessions, he keeps her tied to him, thus stops her from becoming God. He stops her from becoming God. He keeps her tied to material possessions, right? What does a man do when he want to get a woman? He flash money in her face, right? If he can't really talk to her or he can't get with her based on her mentality, he flashes money in her face. What's the next thing he do? He flash money in her face to get her attention. He flash material possessions because he knows by flashing that money in her face, that's going to lower her confidence. It's going to open her up to go under submission to him and whatever he wants to do in that submental realm. That stops the woman from becoming God, right? He turns off for the woman who says, I don't want you for the money. I'm not looking at you for the money. I'm not looking at you for how good you look. What is it that you think? Now, if she started judging men by that, few men are going to show up at her door who are going to come around and waste her time. Then she's free to start becoming a supreme being or a supreme person. See, the evolution of a woman into God is that it's work. It's not, oh, she God because she here walking the planet or because of some skin complexion coloring or whatever, or her hair and whatever nonsense they teach. No. Her evolution, her mental evolution has to happen. Her mental evolution has to take place in the black woman in order for her to even be thought of being in the line of that seat. A real evolution. Hell, the woman, she doesn't even acknowledge God, right? She says she do. She don't really acknowledge God because it still doesn't seem real to her. The idea that you are more supreme or that you are on a higher level mentally than everyone else on the planet, that's not real to the woman. Because she sees and she looks at all the images that this society constantly puts out of the black woman. That of being ignorant, simple-minded, right? They put out that mindset, right? And the woman, that's real to the woman because she sees it every day. Told you, locked into material possession. She's locked into the images she sees every day. That's real to her. She could talk about being God or thinking above that, but it's hard for her to do. That requires focus. The woman doesn't have focus. She has focus for submental things and simple-minded things. That's why I said they always end up going back to the material mindset. They always end up going back to the club. They always end up focusing on their job, focusing on money, focusing on getting their nails done, their hair perm, whatever, their hair blown out, whatever. Some dude, right? They lack focus. The women lack focus. It's always something material. So how does she step into that line or in that seat? Is she willing to do that? Is the woman willing to close herself off and only connect with people who are trying to rear themselves to that mindset and that mentality that's trying to perfect themselves? Are women willing to do that? No, the average black woman ain't willing to do that. She's not willing to make a mental evolution and a change within herself. So how can she become God? I hear a lot of these natural sisters talking about, yeah, well, the woman is God. Yeah, the woman is God. Yeah, what are you doing to show that you God? What is the woman doing to show that she's God? Right? What is she doing? What is she doing different to show that she's God? What impression is the woman making to show that she's God? Let's be honest. Hell, the black man ain't showing that he God. He claimed he God. What is he doing to show that he's God? Nothing. Nothing. He just going around posturing and beating on his chest talking about he's God. Is he putting in the work? Is he trying to raise the souls of the people, raise the intelligence of the people? No. He's not trying to do that. He's still caught in the world. He's still caught in a woman. He's still caught in all these things in the world. So he has the mentality of a woman now. He has the mentality of a woman now. He's caught in the material possessions. You understand? He has the mentality of a woman. He's supposed to be out of the black man, the so-called black man, supposed to be evolving into a bright man to get out here and raise up more bright people, to search for his people. Same thing with the bright woman. The black woman who is evolving into a bright woman, one who has solar intelligence. She's supposed to be out here finding her people, raising her people, bringing them together. If you are truly of that God bloodline, if you have that God genetic in you, or do you have an earthbound genetic in you? Are you of the celestial ones, or are you of the terrestrial ones? The majority of black women are of the terrestrial ones. They are of the world. So when we have talks like this, when we talk about raising the mental, right, raising the bar, raising our connection, the women looking at us like you crazy. Oh, what he talking about? Well, what the hell you talking about? Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, your nails, your hair, blunts, all the things of the world, yet you want to talk about, or spirituality, or metanetor, or whatever, what are you, Ashe, Hotep, what are you talking about? How's that going to raise a nation of people? Spirituality, or sitting in the corner with your legs folded, rocking back and forth? How's that going to raise a nation of gods? A true nation. Not some people sitting around calling themselves God, reciting the same things over and over again. No. It requires you to alter your mind, alter your life. Be willing to open your mind. Be open-minded to higher reception, higher intelligence, advanced thinking, logic. The foundation of our evolution, of our mental evolution, to go into that line of becoming gods. Be open to that. You can't get the woman to open up to that, because that's not real to her. So how's she going to be God? That's a joke. That's a joke. If you calling yourself God in this day and time, because there's too many people calling themselves God, you're not showing and proving. Like the 5% say, you're not showing and proving. What do your works show? That's a journey. That's people putting in work and time. Right? That's people putting in work, putting in the energy. Harriet Tubman was a God in the flesh. Right? She was a God in the flesh. She put the work in. She led her people. She was ready to bust that gun. She wasn't sitting around here like how the slaves was. They was caught up in the material realm there. What was they caught up in on the plantation, the material realm? They was caught up on screwing, eating pork, working, right? All the things that the white man put in their minds. That way of life, that circle of life, that activity. Same thing he puts in your mind today. Go to work, screw, watch sports, eat. He just gave you a few more activities to keep you in a terrestrial, earthbound mindset. And you black women, you buy into it. You caught up in the world. You caught up in the world. So how the hell you going to become God? Yeah, that turned into, right? But she, speaking of the woman, right? You could tell the mission she did, right? She sits amongst the gods. She is a god, right? Because she didn't give into the material world like the black woman. It would have been easy for her to just sit on the damn plantation and eat swine and get fat and pick cotton and have babies, right? That just like the black woman today. It's easy for the black woman to go to her job, right? Go to the club, lay up with some nothing Negro, have a bunch of nigglets, right? Just be regular. Or talk about metanetor or black people, why black people can't come together, but you ain't trying to bring your people together, right? But yet you talking about you a goddess. Or oh yeah, sure, the woman could be God. What are you willing to sacrifice to be God? What is the woman willing to sacrifice? I saw with people like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they was willing to sacrifice. They was willing to sacrifice their life. Hell, Dr. York, he sacrificed his life. That was the lamb for real. That man was the lamb for real. He's sitting up in jail. Don't tell me what all these other leaders out here doing till you ready to sit up here in jail and put yourself out there and teach your people. And don't give me that garbage about, it was about child molestation. It wasn't about that. It was about that man. He raised the obelisk. He was building a city, and he raised the obelisk. That was a sign that they had to lock him down. Right? They was ready to give themselves. They sacrificed themselves. Right? That's what God do. He sacrificed for the people. I sacrifice myself every day, going out here teaching my people the truth, having people, some love me, some hate me, for saying the same thing, which is the truth. Altering my life. Stop hustling. Stop doing all these things. Stop being in the material world. Living to raise up my people. Doing these receptions. having people show up, whether ready to sacrifice their life, sacrifice the material world, coming in to build another community. Who out here ready to do that? These brothers who sit up here and say they love what the intellectuals say, but where you at? You supposed to be those soldiers. You supposed to be at the receptions every month. You supposed to be. What can we do to raise the intelligence of our people if you truly want to become that God race? Where the sisters at? We putting the work in for real. We not sitting up in no conscious gatherings listening to some Negroes curse at the top of their lungs, act like clowns. You understand? And talking about Ashe and Hotep and walking around with big ankhs on our necks and all over our heads and all this nonsense, talking about we gods. Or walking around reciting some old lessons. No, that's not God. God is those people who putting in the work every day, who sacrifice the world and stop with the materialistic nonsense. That's God. The people who really put the work in to raise the souls, to raise the minds of the people, really put the work in. You understand? That's the people out there who coming together, ready to come together with their people, form a new family, to move forward. Right? Because it's a race of gods. It ain't just one God. It's a race of gods. So if you're not with the race of gods, if you're not coming together and putting in the work in real time today, then you're not of the gods. The true gods are like magnets. They're like a biological structure. They know that they're supposed to come together collectively as one. Voltron, as we used to say, they Voltron. The black woman is supposed to be providing the glue for the gods so that she can become God, because through her bloodline we live, and through her bloodline we'll die. Right? That's why they focus on the woman. They kill the children by way of the woman. They kill the children by way of the women. They offered her welfare. They offered her the in vitro shots and all the nonsense to mess up her body. Right? They submentally, the black man who's on a submental mindset, he always focuses on destroying the woman first, because he got the mindset of the beast. He focuses on destroying the woman, messing up her life, getting her pregnant, leaving her with a bunch of babies that she can't take care of, and she's stupid enough to go up there and allow that. Right? Because she goes under submission to man. She doesn't go in transmission with God. Because if she was in transmission to God, she would find herself the true man she's supposed to be equally yoked with, mentally yoked with. She would know the man she would be mentally yoked with if she was in transmission with God. But she's in submission to man and his false ideas and his philosophies. She's still in the world. She's still in the world, but she want to be God. She's still with men who are in the world, but you want to be God. You just want to wear the title. You fake. The women who really sacrifice all the material trappings to move forward for a brighter tomorrow, for a better future, those are the women who are going to be in the line to become God. Not these women who sitting up here claiming God because, oh, it's a fashionable thing now to call yourself God. Oh, yeah, goddess. Yeah, goddess. Yeah, goddess. Ashe Hotep goddess. Yeah, spirituality, metaphysics, rah, 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 sis, boom, ba. Yeah, goddess. Give me a goddamn break. All right? All right? Conscious chicken heads. Conscious birds. That's all. Right? Nothing's being raised up from these women. Right? You sisters who trying to raise the bar, who trying to raise the mental, who trying to raise your soul toward Amen, toward your higher self, toward that solar sense. You're going to find those men who are in that same mindset. You sisters who are trying to lower the bar or stay on this level, stay trapped in the world, stay caught up in the world, right? You sisters, like I said, there is no God connection for you. You will die here lonely on this planet. Even with those of your people who are and your family that are around you in the submental world, they're going to leave you lost and alone, right? The gods are supposed to be Voltron tonight. They're supposed to be coming together in this day and time. The elect are supposed to be coming together. When I say to the people, the brothers and sisters out here who like what's being said, you're supposed to be at the receptions. I'm supposed to see your face. If I don't see your face, then like I said, you just a cheerleader. We don't need cheerleaders. Gods are not cheerleaders, they doers. They're not sideline sitters. They're not people while the men, the real men and women are putting the work in, they sitting on the side talking about, yeah, brother, you right, brother, but you still in the world. Why is the black man still, I have no idea why the black man still caught up in this whole society, because this society ain't offering the black man a damn thing. I can kind of understand a woman a little bit better because they offer her a little more. She'll be the first one to get a job. She'll be the first one to lay up and pop out some kids and get some welfare. Right? They'll give her more of a play than the man. So I can see why she's a little more trapped off in the world, because they focus on her. But you black men, I don't understand you at all. I don't understand you black men at all. Why y'all caught up in this? Why? What's holding you back from advancing into this God race or coming into this new mindset? I don't understand why y'all not sitting in reception, raising your mentality. I don't understand that. What's holding you back, black man? That love of being a black man? What's holding the black woman back? Nicki Minaj, metaphysics, moral science, all the same thing. Church, the religion, culture. What's holding you back? What's holding you back? The world is holding you back. You want to be held back. You want to be in that space. You don't want to move forward. You think that the material world is real. You think that these things of the moment are real. But the only real thing in existence is change. It could be one way a minute, 1 minute, then it'll be another way the next minute. But the only thing that's constantly moving is God's intelligence, God's frequency, Armin's frequency. If you are really in tune, you're supposed to be moving with it. You're supposed to be moving collectively with it. You're supposed to be moving beyond these material mindsets and these concepts and philosophies of man. You're supposed to be beyond the submissive mindsets and ways of thinking of man, and in tune, transmissive to the reception of God and your higher self. Not through no spiritual nonsense, but through a mental connection. Through a mental connection. Does the woman really want that? Does the woman really want that? Not the average black woman. No, she don't really want that. She wants to be in submission to a man. She wants to be popular. She wants to fit in. The black woman, she got the mentality of a high school girl. She wants to be popular. She don't want to be an outcast. The ones who are in the line of God, you are already supposed to be outcast of those who are on the submental. You should be happy to be an outcast. You should be happy. You shouldn't want to be invited to their parties. You shouldn't want to go and get your hair done with the girls or get your nails done or listen to their nonsense. When they start blocking you out of that, or they don't like you no more, then that means you becoming God. That means you on your way. When they leaving you alone and you sitting by yourself, and your girlfriends, your so-called friends who not your friends no more, because you ain't talking some nonsense like they was talking. You ain't talking about laying up with some dude or getting somebody for some money or going to the club or getting drunk and throwing up in the street or smoking a blunt or getting your hair done to your badass kids or whatever y'all talk about, whatever nonsense, whatever raise you got on your job, whatever madness or nonsense. Like I said, it's all temporary. When you stop talking like that and you thinking beyond that, that's when they're going to stop being your friends. That's when you know you moved on. That's the day you should be celebrating. When they cast you out. When they don't want you around them no more. Same thing with you so-called black men. When your boys don't want to hang around you no more. When your girl who you know wasn't about a damn thing, she was an airhead. She's a damn blockhead. She wasn't about nothing. When she don't want to be with you no more, or you ain't the same no more, or what you change, you talking some stuff. Why you ain't listening to that stuff? When she no longer attracted to you, then that means you on your way. To hell with her. To hell with her. To hell with him. You sisters who you trying to keep a man and whatnot, so you stay in that submental state and you following all this nonsense, which you know is nonsense. You following it because you trying to keep a man. When he's with you, when you sitting up here talking, oh, I don't smoke weed, but he smoke weed. Listen, if he smoke weed, you smoke weed. Because if he going up in you, he's changing. He's tearing you up inside. You're in submission to him. His blood goes in you. the sticky icky and the weed or whatever the hell he's smoking, that stuff, the formaldehyde they put on the weed now, or like embalming fluid, that's going up in you because it's part of his bloodstream. So it's in you. So you smoke weed too. All aimed at tearing down the God-like being in you. All aimed at tearing you down. You start from like how they gut a building out when they doing construction on a building. They gut the building. They gut the mentality of the woman. Notice the man, he goes inside. The black man goes inside the body of the woman to gut her out. The white man goes inside your mind to gut you out. Right? He goes inside your mind to gut you out. The black man goes through the physical. The white man goes to the mental. But it's all bent at tearing you down. It's all aimed at stopping you from becoming or being in that line or walking that straight, narrow path of becoming a God. Man don't want to see that. He don't want to see that. He wants you in submission to him. He don't want you in transmission to God. I heard the Israelites say one time, yeah, if I ever catch my woman reading the Bible, I'm going to knock her ass down. I'm going to snatch the book from her. I'm going to read it to her. She listen to me tell her. He wants you in submission to him, not in transmission with God, because he knows when you read those certain words or certain passages, especially in the book of Revelation, right? Or if you're listening to a man whose heart is pure and he's in pure transmission and he's explaining things to you logically, then he's afraid that you know then that word is putting you in transmission with God and to your higher self. That man don't want that. He wants you in submission to him. He wants you in submission to him. He wants you to be his slave. If you're in submission to a man, then you'll never be in transmission with God. Thus, you will never become God. Black woman, you will stay a black woman. You will not advance or evolve into a bright woman. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with listening to a man if he's coming logically and speaking intelligently and is giving you things to grow on. In fact, you should seek those men out. You should be seeking those men out. Right? If you're not seeking those men out, then you know what? You know what? You're going to keep getting those submentals. You're going to keep trying to fall under submission to those men who are not in transmission with God. They're linked here. They're earthbound, terrestrial people. You're going to keep getting those kind of people. You will never become God. You will never ascend, black woman. You won't ascend in this day and time. You will not ascend in this day and time. I'm going to take a call. 407, you're on the air.
Hi, yes. Good evening. I am, tuning in a little while ago to your program. And so far that I've been listening, I'm trying to find out what kind of a message. Are you sending a message to I'm a black woman. Are you sending a message to us black women and black men? What is the message that you're trying to get over? I would like to know. And, black woman being God, I really don't understand that type of a theory. So, I'd like to listen a little more. Could you just enlighten me on what's really going on here?
Okay. Well,
praise God.
The message I'm trying to convey, convey is that we, as a race of people, are supposed to be becoming God-like people on earth, meaning we're supposed to be after the order of the Most High, and we're supposed to be evolving into a God race of beings, black man and black woman. That's what the purpose of us being here is. It's not here to praise God. It's to evolve into God by way of God's orders and intelligence. We're supposed to be evolving, growing, and changing. And I said that the seat of God is just that, a seat or a title that a man holds or a woman can hold in the future. These are all physical beings. God is a physical man that walked the planet. That's not taught in religion. That's a lie that they tell us that God is spiritual, he's unseen. That's a lie that's taught in religion. Because if we came in the image of God, if we made in the image of God according to what they say, then that means that God was a physical man. And this is talking about the evolution of the black woman.
Can I interject a little bit there?
Sure.
I am. You said that it is a lie that they are saying to us that God is not a physical man, or he was,
No,
or he's not.
That I said it's a lie that they teach that God is unseen and some spiritual energy or force. That's a lie. I said God is a physical man who walked the planet.
But according to the Bible, I mean, I don't know, but I'm talking about I'm reading the Holy Bible, the King James Version. So you're saying that when God said that in the beginning it was him, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among men, and he, came here in flesh, you're saying that that's not true?
No, I said God walked the earth in flesh. He walked the earth as a man. And I said that God is continuously walking in the flesh. He has not stopped walking in the flesh. He is not in our time, because we're supposed to be representatives of God in this day and time, moving as a God race of people. That's why I talked about, and I forget what the quote is, a chapter in the Bible where it say, Jesus said, "Ye are gods," talking about the people, because we're supposed to be following after the order of God as people who come from God.
I see. But also, according to the Word of God, Jesus went back. He said that he has to go back, to heaven, and right now,
where is heaven?
Well, according to the Word of God, heaven is way up. It's not here. It's very, very far away from here.
Where is way up from here? That's because that's mystery, and that's a lot of mystery talk. If that's the word of God, God wouldn't. Let me say this. God would be more specific in what he's saying. See, when you get things like that and you don't really know, people leave things hanging, and man is teaching the word of a Bible and things like that, because man doesn't really understand or man doesn't really know. He leaves things to be a mystery, and then he'll say it's a mystery of God when it's just a mystery of man. When you're talking about God, talking about heaven, and it's not here and it's there, you leave a lot of question marks in people's heads with these interpretations.
Well, I don't know. Not really. I am really speaking of the Bible, okay? The Bible that's hand down here from God. That's what I'm talking about, the Holy Bible. And God has said it in his word that, that this worldly earth is not his home. This is his footstool, and heaven is his home. And he also went on to tell us that his ways is very high, just as how the heaven is high. So I'm going according to that, and I do believe that.
Okay.
I don't know which Bible, I know that there's a lot of controversy about the Bible and, about God and the Word of God. So that's why, I'm kind of like trying to find out, what you're really saying. Some things you're saying, I do agree with you. Now, we are in the image and in the likeness of God, but as far as we are spirit. We are
let me attempt to bridge the gap a little bit. We can both agree that God is in another world, right? That is beyond our world, that is more advanced than our world, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what let me say this. That's what we're saying. We're saying that God is a physical man in an advanced state on an advanced world. In the ancient world, that's not even from the Bible. That comes from older stories like the ᴡᴏᴟ and the Gilgamesh epics. The Egyptians talked about God, the Sumerians, all these people before the Bible was written, and they wrote books. But our people don't really study those books where they were saying that, because these people got the word of God too, but the problem is the religious world, they call those people pagans and say that these people wasn't connected with God because they want to push their story out there. Now, that story of God living in another world, or heaven as you refer to it as, is not talking about nothing but a man, a physical man who's living in an advanced state or an advanced world or another planet from beyond our planet. That's all that's saying.
Well,
would you agree? Let me ask you this question. Would you agree that God is more advanced than us?
Of course. Of
Okay,
course
so
he's
if
more
God is
advanced
more
than us.
okay, so if God is more advanced than us, and God, we came out of God, then that means that we are after the image of God. That means we're supposed to be following behind God, right? Meaning that everything that we're doing now, God has already done.
Everything
Yep.
as far as what?
Everything we doing in the world, because if everything is from God, then that means that God has done everything that we have done already, or doing, or man is attempting to do. God has done already. If He is ahead of man, yes.
Well, some things I would agree on. God, everything here is not, is not in agreeing with God's word or His standards. So I would not say everything.
Well, like I said,
there's a dividing line.
Yeah, there's a dividing line, but even if God raised Himself above these things, or God carried Himself above these things, then the people who are of God or from God carried themselves above these things. Then that means that they had to walk through these things, though they might not have took part in these things or partook in these things, or partook in them for a minute. These negative things in this world. They had to walk through these things the same way God walked through these things when He talked about God walking in the garden and talking to Adam and Eve according to the story. That was talking about a person physically walking and talking.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Okay, so then always we're saying the same thing, that we're supposed to be after the order of God. We're supposed to be becoming, the whole point of us being here and existing in this day and time is to be advancing or evolving into a God race of people behind the order of God, because we're supposed to be connected to God. We're not supposed to be partaking in the things of this world, the material things of this world that keep us from becoming gods after the image and after the likeness of God. And I said that the woman is supposed to be becoming God as well after the order of God.
Okay, I'll continue to listen.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Questions, comments? If no questions and comments right now, I'm going to play a little bit of music. All right. This is about the evolution of the woman becoming God, because God has a woman. God has to have a woman, right? If God is a man, obviously He had to have a woman. Right? Now, a lot of people sit up here and say, oh, well, that's crazy. How can God, the religious people who caught up in, they want to mystify and spook everything out and act like God wasn't a man. That's nonsense taught to us by the church, but we're moving on beyond that, right? So let me play a little bit of music. We'll be right back. I want to point your attention to a story in the Bible just for a second. Now, I'm using this as an analogy for something. The whole Mary story and God and Him putting Jesus, the Immaculate Conception. I'm using this story for a reason, because when they talk about Jesus and the Immaculate Conception, and it talks about God, Gabriel came down, He went in unto Mary. I remember years ago, Dr. York broke that down, talking about Jesus, Gabriel, the angel, had sex with Mary. He went in unto her, and she conceived with a child, right? And that child Jesus was, according to the story, was supposed to be have the God genetic in him, right? As one who was from that advanced race of beings, or that God race, who was above man, right? Now, notice when they chose Mary, according to the story, we know these are all Egyptian stories and they copy, but when they chose Mary, according to the story, why did God choose Mary at a young age, right? 13, I believe. 12, 13 years old, right? And when she started to have a menstrual cycle, right? According to the Jewish law, the Hebraic law, a woman goes for a bat mitzvah, right? When she starts her menstrual cycle, she's considered a woman. That's 13 represents a new day, and she's able to start having children around that time, right? Why was she chosen young as opposed to an older woman? Reason being is because, according to the story, when a woman is loose into the world like that, and she's from up under her parents, what happens? Men trying to get at her, right? Back in the ancient world, just like in this world, men trying to get at her, trying to defile her, trying to have sex with her, trying to, just use her for a slut and a whore, right? Trying to that's what the men are trying to do. So God took her at a young age before men could defile her, right? And he put his seed in her so that she would be a God woman as well. He put his seed in before the submental minds of man would defile her. Because as soon as, like I said, as soon as, like, you look in today's world, as soon as the girl, a young girl hit 13, everybody on her, even these old Negroes, they all on her, trying to get in her pants, trying to defile her. They're not trying to make her their wife. They're trying to defile her, right? They're not having no babies with her. They trying to mess up. They smoked out on weed and everything else. They getting high and all this other stuff, and they trying to defile a woman. They're trying to take her off of that pedestal or that of becoming a god. When she held herself for the right man, who is mentally in tune, who is in transmission with God, that's how she becomes a God woman, because she picks and chooses. The fact that she is able to discern who is a man from God versus one who is not, that's the God in her, because she's able to see that. You got certain women who are not able to see that. They pick anybody. They think all men are the same. They think all so-called black men are the same. They don't recognize one who is vibrating on a higher mental frequency versus those who are in transmission with God versus those who are in submission to the ideas and the philosophies of men. So they take any man and they lay up and have babies with these men. They turn off that frequency or that God frequency that's in them, right? Or it doesn't kick in until later, till they done had all these children and made the mistakes, right? They go through these things. But the woman, right, she holds herself for the man. That's why he said, and they got that from the whole God, the story of Mary, and that where women who are considered virtuous hold themselves at a certain time for the right man to have sex with, right? And you have women who become celibate and shut themselves down because they know they made mistakes with the wrong man. They know that they allowed the wrong men to lay seeds inside of them and whatnot, because that can bring down your God connection. That can bring you down from becoming a God. You women. That's why God chose her as pure according to the story. Now, like I said, it's an old story, but it has relevance, because as soon as you allow a man to start going into you, you women, you start to downgrade. You start to degrade yourself. The wrong men, a multiple group of men, you start to degrade yourself. If you have all kinds of stray seed or semen in you, that's degenerate semen, and that brings you down from being a god, or takes you off of that path of becoming a god, then what's happening? Men and women are looking at you as a whore, right? Now, as a man chooses a woman, or a woman chooses a man, it was a time when she chose him based on intelligence, right? On logic. She doesn't do that anymore. It's all based on the submental. That denotes that she doesn't have the God genetic in her, nor will she ever be on that path to becoming a God herself, because she can't even choose the right man to bring forth a future progeny or a future bloodline of seed with. That denotes that, right? All the time. Now, fast forward, right? What is it? Like I said, we used to do that whole thing of, picking and choosing who would become a woman's husband, or a woman would pick and choose, like I said, because she wasn't supposed to be shopped out all around, right? She wasn't supposed to be shopped out all around. She was supposed to not defile herself to the wrong men. Like I said, men put wear and tear on women's bodies. His energy becomes your energy. Why? Because you are an internal being, you women. And the man is external. So what he puts out, you take in. Bloodline, his seed, everything. And that lowers you. That lowers you. That shuts you down from becoming gods. That's why I said the women, they don't choose by logic. They don't choose by intelligence who their man should be, because that's how, and I said earlier, I said that God did have a woman, right? He chose Mary as his woman, right? To carry his son. According to the story, he chose Mary as his woman. So if God chose Mary as his woman, and he sent someone to have sex with her, now a lot of people think that's wrong, or how could God and sex be associated? Well, where did sex come from if not from God? Right? God had to have a woman, right? If God was a man, he had to have a woman. But according to religion, that's supposed to be low because y'all think that sex is something dirty or nasty, as taught to you by the people, the degenerates in the church. It's a natural thing. God had a woman. His woman had to be a god. In order to lay with God, she had to be a god. She had to be on a higher mental level, right? This is what we taught before we came in tune with the white man and his false teachings about God being alone, and all he got is male angels around him, and all the angels are men, ain't no women around and whatnot. Right? That's homosexual talk. Now, like I said, I know people probably go, I said God did the same thing we did. God is a man, just like we men and women. God had women with him. God had men with him. It's just an advanced race of people. God is just an advanced man. And he has women, right? And they made children. And we are the descendants of that God race. See, they're not going to tell us that in religion. They'll try their best to separate God from us more and more, thus separating God from you women. You think you're supposed to be in submission to God. That's a lie. You're supposed to be in transmission, in communication with God, not in submission, not under God, but in transmission with God. Just like you talking on the phone with your closest or nearest friend, that's how you're supposed to be with God mentally. Your future progeny, your ascension, your future bloodline, your children. Your children are the God race. It's not nothing spooky. It's not some mystery and things like that. How the church, that's based on those people's superstition and ignorance of God. You must, in order to be able to hear God's true word or advance or evolve into a God, you have to be able to receive God's intelligence or frequency by way of logic. In other words, you have to think. You have to think. You black women, y'all don't think. You don't think about God. You believe in God. You don't think about God. You believe in God, meaning you accept the stories and you believe the stories that men told you in a state of submission. So how can you become God? How can you grow and advance into God? If you accept these things without thinking, without questioning, without asking, without pondering, you just accept what you've been taught, what you've been programmed to believe. And none of it makes sense. You just follow rituals, spirituals. You just follow in a limited form of thinking. God doesn't deal with believers. God deals with thinkers. You black women are not thinkers, the majority of you. Majority of you just believe. That's why you follow this society. That's why you follow and you caught in this world. Because you don't know how to discern that which is material and that which is fleeting versus that which is eternal and of God. The only way you're able to discern that, the only way you're able to understand that is by way of logic, by way of judgment. A lot of you women don't make the judgment calls. A lot of you women don't make judgment calls because what's the biggest thing the woman's saying right now? She's saying don't judge. You understand? She's saying don't judge. You know? That's what the woman is saying right now. She's saying don't judge. You know, if the woman is saying, you know, especially now when they're getting the woman to accept homosexuality and all the things of the world, right? They tell them, women, if you don't like homosexuality and lesbianism, you're not for that. They go, oh, don't judge him. Don't judge. Why you got to be judgmental? No judgment. Don't judge. God judges. And God's judgment is based on logic, the ability to discern. That's why a new woman has to be raised out of the black woman, a bright woman, one who is in tune with God, so that she can become God, one who is judging by way of logic, one who is choosing men by way of logic, one who is governing her life by way of logic and intelligence, not just believing some stories of some man, not believing that you're supposed to be in submission to some man, cook his food, spread your legs, and do the things that they say, oh, that's what God told you to do for man. No, that's what man told you to do for man. Right? Your connection with man is supposed to be like your connection with God. And that is a mental connection as well as a physical one, so that you may become God. Because you women have the seed of God in you, just like the man has the seed of God in you. So you're supposed to be following behind the order of God to become God yourself on earth. God raised gods. If we are the manifestation of Amen, the true and living God, Amen, which is God's true name, not Jehovah, not Jesus, not Yahweh, those are all man-made names. If you are the true manifestation of God out of God's bloodline, out of his genetic, then you are not following the material world. You are not part of the creation. You women who follow the material world, who caught up in all these material possessions, you are of the material world. That means your genetic is of the creation, not of the manifestation. The true women who are going to become God, they are linked to the manifestation. They're linked to the celestial state. They're linked to the celestial connection with God. They're not into no terrestrial connection with man and his philosophies and his beliefs. That's you women who go to the church, you get prayed up, then you go out and you go to the club next Saturday, or you going and you smoking weed with your girls, or you laying up with some straight dudes. You of the world. You part of the creation, the creatures. That's why you attracted to them. Those women will never be God. The women who are on the celestial level, on the celestial state, not many women are looking to raise to that. Those are the special women. Those are the women who are going to be in the line to become God. You have to first become the elect. You have to first come together and gather and help gather the elect in order to become God. Not, oh, I'm God, I'm a goddess because I'm a black woman. That don't mean a damn thing. So what? That don't mean nothing. Oh, I got a big ankh on. I'm God. I set min whatever. That don't make you God. What makes you God is following the intelligence of God, being in transmission, following the logic of God, and governing your life by that, governing your mental from that. But you're under the governing powers of mankind and his philosophies. That's the world you're in. You're in the material world. You're supposed to be moving through this world, but not of it. See, you black women, y'all in this world and you of the world. That's the damn problem. But yet you want to be God. You ain't ready to sacrifice the world. You ain't ready to sacrifice the ways of the world. You ain't ready to do that. So don't sit up here and tell me you a God. God sacrificed the way of the world. And I'm not talking. It's not no religious rant. God moves on a higher level. God sits back and watches y'all. In the future state, he sits back. It's like television. God sits back in the future state and watches our people, watches the black woman, watches the black man, and he knows y'all the biggest joke on the planet. And he shakes his head. And he said, you know what? The future genetics, the future gene of God has to step in. It has to be activated in the black man and the black woman again. So once we start raising those people up by way of logic, by way of intelligence, by way of transmission with God, then you're going to see the evolution take place. Those are the women or the men who don't understand what I'm saying. Then, like I said, think about it. Logically think about it. Logically think about this evolution. Logically think about this evolution. Logically think about this evolution and this connection with God. If you are truly desiring to be God, black woman. If you are truly desiring to go from black women to bright women, women of light, women of higher intelligence, women who will someday sit in the seat of Amen and will be Amen. That's possible, yeah. It's possible for a woman to become God, the Most High. Yeah, it's possible. But those women are special women. Those women are the women who gave up the ways of the world. Those women gave up the ways of the world. They gave up. They not sitting up in the club with the sisters, the chicks smoking weed. They not sitting up here. They by themselves, and they waiting for other sisters, and other sisters are going to come amongst them, and they're going to govern themselves a certain way. They're going to raise children a certain way, and they're going to be the ones who are going to give birth to a God race. Same way the story of the Jesus and Mary thing go, where she gave birth to a God because she didn't defile herself with men. She didn't defile herself with submental men. She was chosen, right? And because she was still pure mentally and physically, right? Her fire wasn't put out. Pure means fire. Her fire wasn't put out. Her soul wasn't lowered by submental men. Like I said, the same submentals that was there in the past are the same submentals that are here today. Right? Play me a little bit of music. We're at that 30-minute mark. Tomorrow in Brooklyn, New York, we're going to be doing a True God Revealed. True God Revealed based in logic and intelligence of who and what God is. Answering the real questions, getting our people to think again. See, because God deals with thinkers, not believers. God don't deal contrary to what you've been taught to believe and what you've been brainwashed to believe, especially the black woman and the black man, but especially the black woman. God's not dealing with believers. God is dealing with thinkers. He wants the so-called black man and black woman to think again. Because in order for you to connect with God and start becoming gods on earth, you have to think, not believe. Think. What's going on with all the believers today? Nothing. What are the believers in God doing today? Not a damn thing. They're not doing anything. What are the believers in God doing? Nothing. They sitting around waiting for something to happen. They sitting around on their knees begging for a handout from God. Oh, God, please give me this. Oh, God, please give me that. Oh, God, please give me a raise on my job. Oh, God, please, God, please. Right? They beg more than Billy D in that commercial. Right? We'll be right back. My people. Notice how the white man now seeks to mate with the black woman. Right? He seeks to mate with her. Right? He seeks to mate with the sisters with the natural hair. You're starting to see a lot of these natural sisters with the white man, mixing in with them. Right? He's trying to find the best black woman to mix his seed with. Give his genetics a spark. Give his genetics a lift. He's trying to mix his seed with the best. Right? And the black man, what does he do? He finds the worst white woman. Right? You know, he like I said, from penthouse pet to outhouse pet. Right? He tries to get the worst white woman. Right? And she lay with the black man for the same reason, to give some spark or boost or deeper complexion, a deeper connection, a celestial connection to her bloodline and her seed. Right? That's what the whole point. He goes to her first. Right? They push in the society the loose woman. Right? They push the whorish woman in society over the woman who thinks about, because, you know, a virtuous woman don't always mean a woman who only slept with one man. That don't always mean that. A lot of times a woman will, a woman who will lay with quality men, she might only have one or two men in her lifetime, one or two real men, because she laid with quality men. Right? Might have had three men in her lifetime, because she only made sure she laid with quality men. She only laid down. She only had children or had a child with a quality man. Right? She didn't spread her legs for everybody, because she just wanted sex. Right? She laid with quality men because she wanted to bring forth quality seed, because she realized that her genetic, her God genetic, or her genes would carry through her bloodline. Remember in the garden, according to the garden story, there was the serpent seed and the woman seed. They didn't say the man seed. They said the woman seed. They said the serpent seed and the woman seed. Why did they say the woman seed? Now, the Israelites and all the way talking about the man seed, the woman ain't got no seed. Yes, she do got seed. You don't have no seed. The men don't have no seed. It's the woman's seed. What is the woman's seed? Her eggs. Her eggs are the seed. We are the water, the blood, the semen, the mental connection that fertilizes her seeds. She has the seeds. We carry the mental connection on our sperm, or lack of it if you are in a submental state. Right? That mental connection, that connection that's supposed to link the child or the offspring of the progeny to that celestial world, is supposed to be carried on the man's sperm seed. But if a woman, right, is taking any man into her body, right, then she is destroying her seeds. Right? There's something a woman's body does in the first stages or the trimesters of her pregnancy, where her immune system or her body tries to kill off the eggs, and she has to form a what happens in there is she forms a what is it called, the amniotic sac around the child. Right? She forms the amniotic sac around the child. The amniotic sac is formed around the child to protect the child from her natural biological defenses of killing the child off, because the child is considered foreign in her body from the seed of the man, or from the sperm of the man that is mixed with those eggs. Now it's considered foreign, because a foreign substance that sperm that went into mixing with her eggs created a whole new being. So now that being is foreign to her, even though it has her DNA in that being, but it's still foreign to her because the man's DNA is there, right? But the seeds belong to her. The seeds are hers. What is that really? Why is it fighting? Why is it fight? What those? Why is it really fighting to kill off when the woman has a woman miscarries, or when a woman the pregnancy aborts on its own? That's actually the woman's biological defense is killing the child. The embryonic sac didn't form in order to protect the child properly, which comes out as a placenta, right? Why does that happen? Naturally, when a woman is taking in a submental or low seed from a man, she's supposed to reject it. She's not supposed to have children with every man, right? Her body's supposed to dispel defective or degenerate semen from it, so that it will not create a new life with that degenerate bloodline or that degenerate semen. She was not supposed to allow, as a god, degenerate semen inside of her body to formulate a child who would be a degenerate. Now mentally, because the black woman done lowered the bar, and she laid with any kind of black man, so-called black man, right? Look at the children. Look at the degenerate children that are coming out. So now her bloodline has been compromised. Her DNA has been compromised. Her God gene is compromised. So now can she become God? Because she becomes God by way of her bloodline and her genetic. She comes through that bloodline and genetic. That's the continuous bloodline and genetic. When they showed you the Ankh in ancient Egypt, when it showed you they told you it was the eternal. It represented eternal life because it represented the coming together of the man and the woman, the penis and the vagina together, and that represented the coming together to bring forth a new bloodline, a new generation of people. That meant eternal life, an eternal progeny or seed being born. But if you're giving in to degenerate seed, then how can a woman become God? She can't. Her bloodline and her mental growth has been stunted. Her genetic growth has been stunted. Right? It's been stunted. It's been stagnant. Right? There is no evolution. We're going to take a call. 757, you're on air.
Yeah, man. Sometimes I wish you would have like a second call after you go through your material. It's kind of hard to, you know what I'm saying, when you reveal a certain information, it's kind of like you want to wait. If you're a listener, like you want to wait until you reveal all the information and then build on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's why I try to call like at the end of the show. I really be trying to, wait till you come forth with a lot of the information to add on it. But, you know what I'm saying, because I really want to build on what you're talking about, but then I got these other statements that I want to make and questions. The first one was, just real talk, so keep it in 100. In your walk up to your age as of now, if you can be honest, have you come across a female that you can honestly say either has the potential of being God? I remember from one of the previous calls, you was building on the female that's doing with men, and a lot of times they have a better bond, or they have more of an in-tuneness than, I think it was the show on the wifey versus the jump off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That made me think of it like, it's like you would say like the jump offs have more of an in-tuneness than the confused other ones. So, I mean, first I want to know, in a yes or no, or if you could explain it, have you come across, honestly, a sister, not somebody that's just responding to what you're saying, but actually has, that's receiving, has her own intelligent revelation on, on life perspective? Have you come across that yet?
Potentially, yeah, I've come across a couple, potential. But time tells because, see, this is a thing where, they might be a certain way at one point in time, but like I said earlier, the black woman has an attention problem. She'll be focused on something like this or be drawn to something like this, where we're talking about raising the intelligence of our people toward a God mindset, and then next thing you know, she'll veer off and be talking about metaphysics or consciousness or the club or weed or hanging out with her girlfriend. So concentration is key in becoming God, and to focus on one thing as opposed to many.
Right. Okay. Now, see, I came in late. I'm gonna have to go back and replay the show from the beginning to catch the other stuff. But the other point, and it's kind of similar to your answer, like with society geared towards masculine or male perception, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that a sister actually can naturally tune out male or female perspective, you know what I'm saying, and just grow to a natural God without trying to become, you know, a lot of our single mothers, they try to be man and female, or the lesbians, they try to be men, and, you know what I'm saying, they try to still smell like a woman and look like a man and wear pants, and, you know what I'm saying, it's like, you know, like the independence thing, which makes it seem like they being God, is actually kind of, you know, if you're a brother and you looking at him, it's like, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of like off, like you got the potential, but you're trying to be me, you know what I'm saying, you like they get more focused, you know what I'm saying, when they get away from men, but it's like lopsided because then they're not women, but do you see where I'm going with it, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like they can focus when they're not dealing with us, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like they're not still being dealing with a higher aspect. Like they're still trying to grab onto either the white man's world philosophy or world, you know, get worldly things, and then it seems like they all right. Like you could sit there and look at them from afar away, and they look like they emotionally intact, or they own their ding because they think they got the job or the high position or the car, you know, all of the worldly things, you know. But I still be asking myself, like, can you just naturally be that as a woman, you know what I'm saying, and not chase off of the male perspective of life, you know? You know, that's, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I'm kind of trying to look and see, can the sisters go to be God without actually chasing off of the male's perspective of life? Can they actually just grow on their own and you know, and just receive without, you know, being the governor or the president of the company? You feel what I'm saying? Like, you know, the majority of them, and you see is successful, then they think they God then because they got a position over men, you know?
Well, here's the thing. Again, you know, the ability to focus on things and not get caught up in these things in the world, these material possessions or this matter that's in the world, the ability not to get caught up in that is the opening of a higher reception. When the woman is not caught up on these things and not focused on these things, when she know a job is just a job, or she's trying to look to get beyond these things, or she's looking to come in tune with her people who are not focused on these things, that are focused on the future, then that world of reception and becoming God will open up to her. Only then will it open. It's not going to open with her. She wants to be in the world and of the world, but she, you know, she wants one foot in the world, and then she wants to talk about she's so-called spiritual or whatever. And, you know, just the fact that she using the terminology spiritual shows she's still in the world. She would understand it's a mental connection, that she has to cut one line in order to connect another one.
Right, because I still see the sisters trying to, you know, even when you mention it, and it's a good point when you mention it, because I kind of get it, like, I know you're not being condescending, and I actually get where you're going with, like you say, okay, the sisters trying to, you know, do their hair natural and so forth, but it's still like you still in the world, you know what I'm saying? Like you still looking for some approval, or, you know what I'm saying? It's still not tuned towards intelligence, like we seeing sisters go natural, but I'm still not seeing sisters display intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yeah, you recognize. Like, I'm still looking to see if you trending or not. You know what I'm saying? Just because you see 10 other sisters go natural, like, are you trending, or can you do an application? And when I say an application, a function that actually shows that you're growing intelligently. And it's kind of hard. Like, if you're a brother, a lot of sisters, if you come across a brother with an intelligent conversation like we do, you come across a neighbor, okay, brother seem intelligent, and then they look at us and say, I'm natural. I just got natural hair. Like, okay, well, when is it that we start getting a display of the intelligence and not the fads and, like you said, the onks and oh yeah, you took on an attribute that you don't even know the attribute means or displaying and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, in like a week or a month, it's gonna play out, and you're gonna actually start seeing the real person. And I'm trying to see whether or not they could do it do the application of intelligence without emotion. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times our breakdown come like, here come the emotions. Now we back into something mental. You know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay. Well,
yeah, and I know
that's why the state of mental is here. It's for those of our people, the men and the women who are tuning into that mental frequency, that high mental frequency that's thinking beyond this thing and beyond the material world and things like that, who are coming together collectively. So it can breed that new people, that new woman that has to come out of the black woman, because the black shell is supposed to be peeling off right now. It's supposed to be peeling off of the so-called black woman and the black man to reveal a new man and a new woman, a solar intelligent being, one who is after the order of Amen. So, yeah, it is possible if the woman is willing to sacrifice. If she's willing to sacrifice all these things of the world and the fads and the styles and being amongst the world, then she is open for that seat, and she is open to come in tune with her people, because she won't be alone for long, because the elect are gathering. But I got to go, brother. We got 8 minutes to go.
I feel you. Last comment. Did you mention anything about the emotions? You know what I'm saying? Because that's like a major...
I talked about it. I covered the
emotions. Okay.
That's the thing that keeps them grounded in the material world. Thanks a lot for calling, brother.
Peace. All right, peace.
All right. Let me go ahead and answer these questions before we get out of here. Will women ever really become the Most High? Will a woman ever really become the Most High God, Amen, in the future? It's possible, but that's sacrifice, because it's just a seat. God is a seat, just like it's a title. So a woman can become, the man becomes God all the time because he focuses more easily. The man becomes God, and he sits in that seat in the continuous state because he focuses more easy. Ever since the woman hit the planet, or ever since the woman started to be manifested on the planet out of the bloodline, she was caught in the material world. She got caught in the material world, and she focuses on everything other than that God connection or that transmission. She falls victim or in submission to everything in the world, from hair to shoes to jewelry to handbags to an apple on a tree, whatever the hell. The woman gets side. That was the way of saying that the woman got sidetracked. When they talk about the serpent, that the powers that be, the ones who led the world, they sidetracked the woman and got her focused on material possessions, and it stopped her from evolving into a god. So that's what that was saying. So it's possible that she can shed the attention to those lower things, those lesser things, those material possessions. Not saying there's anything wrong with having material possessions, but the black woman, that's her end-all, be-all now. So why, and men too, they becoming like that. Why do men inhabit the seat and title of God? Because men can be more focused. Like I said, the men tend to be more focused on things that are celestial than the women. The women tend to focus on things that are terrestrial, earthbound matter. The men tend to be more celestial, more mental. They call it spiritual, but that's actually the wrong thing. That's actually the wrong terminology. It's mental. Everything, all is mental. There is no such thing as spiritual, except for those people who are moving in a rotation and a flow in the human creation of life. That's the spiritual people. We're supposed to be the solar people and the mental people, all right? So-called black people. Can women be gods of the future? Yeah, they can. Like I said, sacrifice. God means sacrifice. God has to sacrifice. He has to sacrifice the things of the world and take his energy and focus off of all the things in the world in order to focus on one thing to become God. And that one thing is the mental reception of God, the higher thoughts and the intelligence of God coming through. All of the things that we reject in the society, new things open up for us. One door that we close on the submental level is a higher door that's opened up on the mental level, on that Amen or that Amen-telic level, right? Or that mental level, that fourth plane that door is opening. All right. what holds women back from going on the path of becoming gods? The material plane, again, the material world. All the things that the beast offers you, all the things the black beast offers you, the black man, the white man, all men on the planet offer you in the material world. Y'all focusing on that. It could be love and hip-hop. It could be some simple-minded story. It could be some culture, some religion, some nails getting done, hair getting done, some new spiritual book, some nonsense to keep you distracted from focusing on that one thing, right? To focus on that one thing, which is the mental evolution into a God being. Is it a spiritual path or a mental path to becoming a God? It's a mental path. Like I said, there's no spiritual path to becoming God. It's a mental thing. It's a mental path. It's a governed mental path. You have to learn to govern or control your mind and steady your mind to move in one straight line, one linear line to a evolution toward Godship or Godhood. I said stop trying to be Christ-like, stop trying to be like Muhammad, stop trying to be like men in submission to men and their philosophies and ideas, and start being God-like, which is the connection to your higher self. You're not going to find that by way of spirituality. You have to change your mind in order to change your physical and start becoming that God being. And that's it. Join us Monday night. We're going to be doing the State of Mentel's True God Revealed tomorrow in Brooklyn, New York. Those of you who are listening, those of you in the New York area, I want you to come out. I want those of the New York people who listen to this broadcast, who love me and say they love what I'm saying, love the message of Mentellect and raising the mentality of our people toward Amen, to come out and be a part of this reception, because those are the people who we're trying to boost this reception, and we're actually trying to change ourselves. Thus, in changing ourselves, we would change the world. So come out and join the great reception tomorrow at 3 p.m. in Brooklyn, New York City. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz. This has been State of Mentel Radio. Good night. I want to close out with the shortest song on here, Earth, Wind & Fire, Shining Star. Peace to the sisters and peace to the brothers. We out.
It's the Republic of Mentellect, rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of Mentellect, black race to the white race. If it's hell, and then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods. Through all of that, we beat the odds. Now we coming together under one flag. Colors red, gold, and blue. Superman, Superwoman, that's me and you. The infinite capability